accountants, because the role of a chartered accountant today is getting down. But however, the registration, the name availability, everything can be applied through the online portal, and they've also developed an app where the updates about the policy, and you can also apply through an app. Now all this is being developed from April month. April 5th they have launched the app also. But this is all the beginning, it's not the end. I am again reiterating because the government itself is looking at what all new things they can do in the startup. So they are brainstorming as a policy body with a lot of experts. So it can all settle down within a year, and you can look at full-fledged operation of the startup incentives within a year. So there are so many important things in the startup policy. First important thing is about Startup India Hub. They wanted to create a Startup India Hub where they are going to handhold, guide, and then put the mentors, conduct events, and then challenges where they can come and exhibit their products or innovations and win the challenge. And when they win the challenge, it's all the end, so that they can get the access to funding. So somebody wins the challenge in the Startup India Hub challenge, or the Startup India Hub conducts the challenge, and if he wins that and he's in the limelight, and moments in the limelight, there are a lot of people who wanted to fund it, So accordingly, the Startup India Hub is going to be a major development out of the startup policy. Minimal government interference. Most of the time in India, in fact when I go abroad, a lot of foreigners complain about two things. They are not complaining about the people, they are not complaining about the climatic condition, they are complaining about the government. They say, when I go and approach a government, work is never done. Number of time, number of days I spend, number of hours I spend, most of the time the government offices, my work is not done. And somebody was saying, I want to start up a manufacturing unit, and it takes more than 9 months in India to get the approval done. And it's clear, because as per the World Bank report, nobody need to tell that. The foreigners know it better. What is India? The foreigners know better than us. They are quoting about the World Bank report, where in World Bank we are ranked around 138 out of 189 countries in the ease of doing business. And why are they calling ease of doing business? It is difficulty of doing business in India, like that one foreign investor is talking about. Now the thing is that because of procedures involved in the regulations. When you start a pharma company, we don't know how many regulations are applicable in India, and there is no checklist for that. And he keeps going on and on for a pollution control approval, and then he goes to the panchayat office, to the town planning office to get the approval, and by the time he starts a business, he is exhausted. And he says, why should I come to India after all this? So definitely there is a market involved, I am coming there, but if I am going to put for so much trouble, what interest will I have? So now that is where the government is looking at bringing the ease of doing, so minimal government interference. So that is the reason they have created a portal, and then that through portal you can interact with the ministry. And believe me, I just had a word with one of the person who is working on the Startup India in the government department, that is DIPP. He said a lot of queries are already being addressed, either through post or a mail. They are addressing the queries, and I have seen the entrepreneurs getting replies nowadays. So there is a push from the government, and there is a government push nowadays to answer all the queries of the entrepreneurs. But however, there is always a room for improvement, which the government is doing now. Then mobile application for registration and documentation. They have created an app on April 5th, they launched it. The app is in the stage of development, further development. So where the entrepreneurs can have access of the policy of the government, then approval. If you want to apply for your name, or if you want to get the apply for some incentive in the future, then you can apply through the app which they are developing. Through that app you can have access. Then fast track patent mechanism. As I told you, because of the startup policy, the fast track patent IPR regime is started already. The government has ensured that within 90 days you will get the patent registered or trademark registered. For that, there is a notification already issued by the Government of India. They have said what is the fees also. It runs about 9,000 to 10,000 depending upon turnover and depending upon various criteria, where there is going to be some person appointed by the government to help you in registering your patent. Because of not registering a patent, because of not getting an intellectual property, whether an individual loses or not, the country loses. Because if you look at, let me again come back to the country like Taiwan, where 293 patent registration per million. So they have 28.3 million population. So 28.3 million population into 293 patent per million. That is equal to the patent of the country. Now in India, we have 1.3 billion population. I'm not looking at 1.3 to bring out new product, but half of the size. If they are able to register and develop so much patent, then automatically the country can become a technology-oriented country. There can be a patent sharing with other countries where you can get royalty. So India is losing. So that is the reason it is the agenda of the government, not the agenda of the entrepreneur. So they have tried to liberalize to 90 days, and they have realized the importance also. Now, how am I substantiating it? Even in the budget, there came a amendment which spoke about 10% tax for the income what you earn out of the lending your patent. That royalty, you get a royalty, you have a patent with you, you give the patent to someone through an agreement, and then you get royalty for that. That royalty income normally is taxed at 30%. But because of the amendment in the government, in the Union Budget 2016, it will be taxed only at 10% as against 30%. They are bringing a patent box regime. And most of the developed nations in the world, they have encouraged patent registration, and they have helped with the patent registration. It is so easy that applying a patent in the morning and getting patent in the evening. But in India, 90 days is a good approach which will improve over a period of time. And that is how you can also become the number one in the innovation in the world also in the future. So for that, the foundation stone is already laid. All right. So launch of Atal Innovation Mission, this foundation is already made. So where the Atal Innovation Fund, some about 500 crores to 600 crores has been already allocated through the Atal Innovation Mission Fund, and through which it will be given as a prize money for the competitions of the startups, and tax exemption on capital gains to startup for 3 years. So there is also a capital gains exemption given for the startups. What is this capital gains exemption? This capital gain exemption is, it is not actually 3 years, it is actually 5 years. This capital gain exemption is nothing but when somebody invests in the fund of funds of the startup, and they transfer the units of funds. And when they transfer the units of funds, the investor will get the benefit of capital gains exemption. So they are encouraging the investors to invest in the fund of the startups. And then fast track exit mechanism. In many of the time when we go and discuss with a relative or a known person, many of them don't venture into business not because they will not be successful, just because when they fail, what to do. Many of them will quote an example, look, that person started a business, he went down in life, he has now become useless. Like that they give a story because there was no proper fast track exit mechanism. To exit, today in India, starting an enterprise is also difficult, exiting enterprise is also very, very difficult. You can't just like that exit. So everything is difficult. So looking at that, there is a fast track exit mechanism which the government has proposed through a bankruptcy and insolvency bill, which is pending before the president for the assent. What it talks about is within 90 days you can exit the business. You file the petition and then go to employment. So this gives the confidence for the startup people. Okay, at least there is some kind of incentive given by the government to when I fail in the business. Moment you take care of failing, then people will eventually be successful because they will be more dynamic. They have confidence that somebody is there to take care and they are going to do the business more efficiently. So this is what the government is looking at. Legal facilitation for entrepreneurs. Legal facilitation cell is being planned by the government. Then startup festivals at national and international levels. One more important thing, I was in IIT last month, April. There was an entrepreneurship event, I don't know how many of them attended it. In the entrepreneurship event, one guy, it was an event within the students. Students were so enthusiastic, and there were three groups of mentor, five people comprising of mentor group. So the student will present the idea, and the mentor group should raise their board to say that I am picking up the student for mentoring. One such person, one student came up and presented. I was sitting, and I just went. It was 5 minutes. I was sitting in the first row and was just listening. That student is a mechanical engineer, and then there is a template given: problem, solution, and what you require from the mentor. Only 3 columns you have to fill in, and you have to present your idea within 3 minutes or something. Then that person came. Garbage is my business. House, I will go and collect the garbage. When I collect the garbage from every home, I know the consumption pattern of the home. When I know the consumption pattern of the home, then I'll go around the homes and collect the garbage. Then I'll have the consumption pattern of a particular locality. Then I will improve my scale up my business to city, then to towns, then rural areas, then to state, then to nations, then to continents, then to the entire world. And I have the data of consumption pattern. And consumption pattern data, if I have, I can do anything. and any person wants to establish a pharma shop there, I know what is the consumption of insulin in a particular place. Any person wanted to establish a mother warehouse for pharma, then I know what is the products they need to stock for next 30 days. One idea of a garbage cleaning leads to a global business, and that is what is all about entrepreneurship. And immediately when he stopped presentation, there was a mentor group who immediately raised and said, I'm going to pick up this entrepreneur. And he's a mechanical engineer. And this is what is a challenge. And people do it. I'm just talking about one instance. There are multiple businesses they presented. I was shocked to see how they are thinking differently. And if this is happening because of the competition. So that is the reason the Prime Minister in the startup policy has spoken about the startup festivals. So there is going to be a regional festival, there is going to be a national festival, and there's going to be, when somebody wins in the national festival, let's assume in the first 3 category, first 3 prizes somebody wins, then look at, it will be flash everywhere, and that person is going to get the funding. And that's how it's been happening in TIE also. In TICON, many people win the prize and it's a news and people get the funding subsequently. So it's been happening like that around the world. So looking at that, the importance was felt. And on the national level, incubator grand challenge. And within the incubators also, there is going to be a grand challenge. Which incubator got a highest number of entrepreneurs or successful entrepreneurs? Or there can be an incubator who would have incubated more number of social enterprises. So this kind of a challenges are being planned at the national level. Now, how the TIE can play a major role in the startup policy? They have been already doing what the startup policy was talking about, helping entrepreneurs, conducting events, and this is evident from today's meeting. So they have a good connect. They have already been doing. Only thing, the Startup India policy has to collaborate with TIE, nothing else. So already they have been doing, and they have been enabling all the startups, and they are recognizing the startup people. That is clearly evident in the TICON events happening around the world. And Chennai is definitely doing much better than the other TIEs also. Now, startup ecosystem. So there should be a encouragement. What is the startup ecosystem as well? We talk about ecosystem and ecosystem. Ecosystem is not about regulation alone. It is about the mindset and the culture. So when somebody generates an idea, that's what I told you. When a child generates an idea, we kill it. When an entrepreneur generates an idea in the college, we say it is not scalable. Look, you have a 10 lakh rupees debt for your college engineering course. Go for employment. That employment will be no innovation. The process will be there. By the time when he goes to the employment, he will sit in a cubicle. After a while, he has an EMI and house and a car loan which he has to pay, and entrepreneurship is killed forever. And responsibility comes, and that is the reason the idea should not be killed. When a child gives an idea, the idea can be an excellent idea. There is a story which I read. The child collects used pens and papers, one-side papers, and exports to Africa for using that in education institution. A child. I don't remember the enterprise name. It starts with pencil is the initiative name. I think it's a pencil is the initiative name. That particular person, the particular student is just 10 years. What is he doing is, 10 or 12 years, what is he doing is, he's collecting all the used papers where one side is used and the other side is not used. He's packaging and sending to the Africa. People in the underdeveloped nation are using that for getting educated. So it is an idea generated from the child. So if idea is encouraged, everything will happen. That is the reason in the startup policy, the government, Prime Minister has clearly said there should be an innovation school. Innovation school setup. What is an innovation school? To put it across very simply, in the 3 Idiots movie, in the climax scene, the heroine will not identify the hero by looking at him. She will identify, if you remember well, she will identify by the product what is there in the climax. She will say, my hero is here. Then she will go around looking at him. So that innovation is what we are looking at. The product innovation. So they should identify the product of India in the future and say this is a product from India. That is a campaign of Make in India. So it's all together. Skill India, Digital India, Startup India and Make in India, it's all together. Today somebody starts a manufacturing industry through startup and scales up. Then eventually it becomes a Make in India campaign. So looking at this, the entire policy is together. The main thing for that is idea generation. How can it be generated? It should be encouraged from the school level. It should be encouraged in the college level. It should be encouraged by the friends, and it should be encouraged in the competitions, and that's how the idea should be generated. For this, the education policy should also be changed. In fact, many of the developed nations, you go and look at, the schools provide a lot of, maybe 20% of curriculum and 80% of extracurricular activities. There are schools in Chennai also like that. So that is more important. Then automatically, the idea generation will happen and entrepreneurship initiative happens. Validation. So somebody has to validate your idea. Who should validate? Already the entrepreneurs are, many of the entrepreneurs fail because it is not validated. But today the startup policy says that we will validate. Through what? Incubator. Then only we'll get the certificate, then only you can categorize yourself as the startup company. Then product development. When the product development happens, you can develop the product through technology collaborations, for which Make in India campaign will help you, or you can yourself look at product development team, or you can find out the mentors. The mentors will identify you because they have rich experience and alumni network. Many people say the IIM graduates eventually become entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, because the alumni base. So alumni base can be either acquired through the institutions or it can be acquired through the associations. For example, somebody who is from TIE, who is highly successful, will eventually give a helping hand to help the entrepreneur from the association. So that is how the product development also happens. If you go and ask them, they are going to give you 100 references through which you can develop your product and commercialize it. Alright. Then traction, and then you have to continuously go in the wave. In fact, it is said that the entrepreneur who scales up doesn't scale up when the wave is ending. He scales up when the wave is starting. So for example, if somebody starts Flipkart model of business today, he will not be successful. But Flipkart started when it should be successful. So identifying a wave is also the duty of the entrepreneur. So what is the next level of wave? Maybe an automation, maybe the financial technology. So financial engineering technology. So identifying that wave, what will be the wave for the next 5 years or 6 years, happens only through proper traction and diversifying your business over a period of time. Similarly, when you float a business, you should also know when to sell it. So it's very, very important. Many people, if you look at, there are a lot of serial entrepreneurs who actually float a business, then grow it, then sell it. Then grow it, sell it. Value it, sell it. So it is also a good idea. So the entrepreneur should look at all these avenues while he is in the business, and every day is a new day for the entrepreneur. The traction is very, very important. And then financing. So every stage requires financing. And somebody says, my project is not successful just because I'm not able to get a finance. Believe me, finance is not a problem. In fact, in one of the entrepreneurship event, the investment banker, or rather the particular capital company, was saying, if you have a good idea, we are behind you. And they are behind people. Moment you justify the idea, then they are with you. For example, Ampere Vehicles, Emalata Annamalai, she got the funding from Ratan Tata. Just by mail, it has been published everywhere through a mail, because idea is capable, idea is commercial. So when you have a good idea, the funding will automatically come, because today when you put your money in your bank, what is the percentage you get? 8.25%. Then the tax you pay is 2%. It is 6% net you get. What is the inflation percentage in the country? 6%. Money never grows. So definitely there are people to look at how they can grow the money, and they will definitely invest in your company. So only thing, developing that capable idea and scaling up that idea is the duty of the entrepreneur. Then scaling up happens. Then business model optimization. And over a period of time, many business fail not because the idea is not good, because of reckless management. So you should look at managing the business properly with proper systems and approaches, with the proper advices. Then of course pay your return to the investors. Don't forget about it, because they have been behind you and then they scaled up. Now you should pay the investors. And believe me, if somebody is going to talk about profit, now profit is not a real measure of your growth in the business. In today's scenario, your brand is your measure of success of your business. If you're going to look at your profit and say, I have not made profit, I'm a loss-making company, you are wrong. Completely wrong. You should look at your business from brand valuation angle. You should look at your business from market you are holding. Today, if you're able to have a customer base of billions and millions of people, even though you don't make profit, still the company can be sold to someone for crores and crores of rupees. So that is what you should measure your business through. You should not look at the profit. That can be one of the measures. Second, the company may be making losses, but the entrepreneur who promoted the business will be drawing more salary or remuneration from the company. So these are the real measures of the enterprise. And you should also evaluate when you are doing a business and when you are scaling up, when you actually look up for higher ambition, you should also be contented thinking, if you had been in employment, what you would have earned. That if you think, automatically the encouragement comes, rather than comparing the higher levels. So these are the entrepreneur story, and these are the lessons the entrepreneur actually talk about in various books and interviews. So definitely there are a lot of potentials. Out of 10,000 startups today, approximately in India, 4,300 startups are basically concentrated on e-commerce and B2B, consumer internet, mobile apps. E-commerce comprises, in 4,300 startup, e-commerce comprises 33%, B2B, business to business comprises about 24%, consumer internet comprises about 12%, mobile apps comprise about 10%, and SaaS comprise about 8%, and others comprise about 13%. If you look at the other than the technology startups, which is about 5,700, which is the majority, engineering constitutes about 17%, and construction is about 13%, agri products is 11%, textile is 8%, printing and packaging is 8%, transport and logistics 6%, outsourcing and support is about 5%, and others is about 32%. So these are the startups. But number of employability may be differing. Maybe the outsourcing and support may be 5%, but it can employ millions and millions of people. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about the startup scenario. So India is ranked among third in the globally in the global startup ecosystem, and 110 number of incubators in the rank of 110 number of in terms of number of incubators, accelerators in India, growth of 40% since 2014. 5 billion investments have already happened in 2015, growth of about 125% over 2014, and the numbers are very high now in 2016. And young and unspread 20. And if you're going to look at the average age as per the NASSCOM report, the average age of the entrepreneur today is CEO is about 28 years. 28 years. I'm not feeling privileged about it. I'm talking about the aspiration of the youth today, and this number is going to decrease over a period of time. And again, nevertheless, the people who have experience also has done extremely well. Look at, for example, a business KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken. He started the business when he was 64, and McDonald's, he started the business when he was 50 plus. So it's not about what age is all about. Maybe a good sign of the country, but entrepreneurship is all about the idea. Idea can be generated over a night. Idea can be generated when you're in an airport. Idea can be generated because of some incident in your life. So what is actually giving the idea? The idea is life. Idea is commercial. So that idea is about being young. So not about the age. But here in India, is 28 years is the average age. Definitely is a good sign, and it's definitely going to go down. And 156 in the rank, number of PEs and VC firms grown over 100% since 2014. Now it is about 115% in the 2015. And 8 out of 10 total VC and PE firms in India are foreign. So 8 out of 10. So foreign investors more. Believe me, if you have a good viable idea, there are so many people to support you. There are so many countries to technology collaborate with you. And definitely funding is not a problem if you're able to if you're able to generate a good idea. So most of these initiatives and the benefits I've already spoken. So the key challenge for the startup is going to be the talent acquisition. So they have to train the people on the new technology front or the new product front, justifying and branding their product. For a while you have to market your brand. After that, your brand will market for you. So how do you do that? So that is going to be a greatest challenge. Your product may be good. Sometimes when you don't market, it is not visible in the market. So we need to market that. How do you do that? For that, talents has to be acquired. Two, policies has to be framed. Very, very important. When you operate in a country like India, which is prone for legal suits or legal problems, I think you should have policy in the company. Policy for everything. Employee policy or the company policy or a top level policy, management policy, IT policy and everything. Then funding over a period of time. You should also know when to get the funding. The evaluation of the funding, how much funding you need. Sometimes excess funding can happen. Then return of investors will come high. So you should look at all this. Optimum mix is very, very important in case of the funding and the growth over a period of time. So enablers in the startup ecosystem, the first is registered. Why the startup policy is encouraging registered? Because most of the time, even the registered companies have a problem. I have seen many people, there is a story which I hear from elders. People have filed insolvency petition in Chennai and started business somewhere else. I heard stories about that, and they are very successful there. If they think about paying, they can pay now. That may be a fraction of their money, but still they don't pay, and people are not able to identify them. So if registered companies itself face such kind of a problem, so that is the reason the startups say let it be a registered one. Then only you can attract funding. Then compliance. don't take compliance easy, because there are cases where not remitting, you have deducted the service tax, but you have not remitted the service tax because of the regime in the country where it is more than 50 lakh rupees. There was an initially before the Union Budget 2016, people have been taken for custody just because they did not pay remitted the service tax. They have the service tax, but they have not remitted. One of the famous travel company, you won't believe. So that it is a problem. Then private equity people, they have taken the particular director for a custody. The private equity will try to take out the money, thinking some serious problem in the company. So don't take the compliance for granted. Ensure that you don't micromanage. You put the experts in the company over a period of time. So if it is a finance domain, put the finance expert. If it's an operation matter, put the operation people. Then you look at how to develop your business, scale up over a period of time globally and capture the market over a period of time. Then finance functions, accounting, taxation, another major problem. When I speak to the foreign investors, they say, how many taxes are there in the country? Let me first, give me some 5 minutes, I'll recollect. Income tax, indirect tax, under that VAT, then CST, then you have customs, entry, octroi, and service tax, reverse charge mechanism. So many taxes, various methods, so much confusion. Most of the time the taxation is big trouble. So ensure that you plan taxes appropriately, look at outflows, have a proper system in place, automatically everything in place. So in fact, one of the entrepreneur, he gave a good idea. When the government says you pay 30% tax, don't think 30% tax as your cost. Think that 30% is the money you pay to the government for utilizing the services in the country. Then look at making, apart from 30% only, you should measure your profit or growth. So it is one of the cost, like your employee cost or your salary cost. Look at growing. Don't worry about this taxes what you pay. You pay the taxes properly, make good money. So that's how you should always aim at capturing the market. Don't worry about the taxes you pay. Because the moment you start worrying, then you will not do business, is what that entrepreneur says. So, and then periodic reporting. If your private equity partner or the investor is there, ensure that we